Good afternoon, my gardening peeps. This is South Carolina TransPlant, also known as Martin, coming to you live from Zone 8A, the Piedmont of South Carolina. We're done with 2024. Happy New Year. It's 2025 now. And life is good, y'all. I'm almost out of this darn boot. Man, my foot is feeling so much better. I just can't wait till I'm totally rid of it. So far, so good in 2025. Got a big, bright, sunshiny day. It's almost about 55, 60 degrees. I even got a big kiss from Mrs. Transplant this morning. Man, things are going so well. It's just making me want to say, that guy is not me. On second thought, that guy is me. You see, the family and I, we have been going through some tough times recently. But instead of letting those tough times define me, I'm using those tough times to inspire me. You see, each day I wake up with the mindset that I'm going to squeeze every ounce of life out of every second of that day, because there's so much to be grateful for every day. And I refuse to let dark clouds cover up a bright, shining day. And that's a day that it snows, a day that it rains, or a beautiful day like today where the sunshine is out. So let the church say amen, and let's do this. I had to get my shirt off because it's warming up here, and I'm like a big polar bear here in the Piedmont of South Carolina. Once it gets over 45 degrees, it's like summertime to me. If you've stayed with me this long during the course of this video, I just want to say thank you. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. What I try to do in my videos is try to bring you guys along musically. That's something I would be doing if I wasn't on camera. I'd be out here doing my gardening chores with my earbuds in. So I try to bring you guys along with me, enjoying my playlist with me. So what's on today's itinerary is winter sowing. And if you don't know what winter sowing is the process of planting hardy and half-hardy seeds in clear or translucent containers. The containers are sealed with duct tape and placed outdoors in the winter weather, where the cold weather naturally stratifies them. This process mimics the natural conditions that trigger germination in many seeds. So what I showed in the opening was me sanitizing the containers I'm going to use for the first phase of winter sowing. So in the first phase of this project, I'm going to begin winter sowing on these salvia seeds that I cold stratified in our freezer in the garage for a few months. And then also these lavender seeds. Now I tried lavender seeds last fall. I had 10 potted plants and they looked healthy up to a certain time, but then 8 of them succumbed. They died. I don't know why. I still have 2, and I'll go ahead and pin up a video of those 2 that are still surviving. I'm overwintering them in the garage. I plan on planting them in the garden this forthcoming fall. Okay, I don't know where I left off. I had a neighbor stop by. Always cool to see them. But what I did is I took a mixture of potting soil and peat moss, and I mixed it 25% peat moss and 75% potting soil. And the reason I did that was because I noticed some of my plant seedlings, their roots were not penetrating or could not penetrate deep enough because like the potting soil by itself was just too thick for the young seedling roots. So what I did in that last segment is fill these up, and then I'm going to water these before inserting the seeds into these. Some gardeners, they moisten their mix prior to doing that. I'm just going to do it a little different this time because, to be honest with you y'all, the water's ice cold. I mean, I guess I could have used warm water, right? It's a nice day. But anyway, the water's ice cold coming out of the spigot. Pretty sure it'll be okay. So. I'm packing it a little tight, maybe too tight, so I'll leave it. I'll just tap it this time, because I don't want it too compact. In the prior 2 seasons, the soil dried out and it literally was like about halfway. So I ended up having to up pot the plants. Didn't hurt anything, just that we want to give them the foundation to be able to grow successfully right from the start. At this point, going to sprinkle just a little biotone in each pot. Give everybody a little water. So what I'm going to do is let the water soak for about, I don't know, half hour to an hour. And then once I determine if there's a substantial amount of settling, I'll add more mix. If I feel it's perfect to start the seeding process, we'll begin that at that time. All right, so I forget what the count of these are. I'm gonna start with lavender. Let me put this guy back away. So I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do this as far as how many seeds per pot yet. I forget what the count is here. These seeds are very tiny. I don't know if y'all can see them in there. I gotta unfold it the exact correct way. So I got this little knife here because these seeds are so tiny. I'm trying to lift these up. But the knife doesn't have a good tip. So I think I'm gonna go with, I don't know if that's in a shot. I'm gonna go with 3 per pot. I'll probably end up going with more. They don't need to be planted that deep. Basically, surface planting them is fine. You know what? I'm gonna take these pots here because the sun is shining perfect from this pot's location. I hate to do this, but I'm gonna try to pick them up. Oh, not that bad. No, that's not that bad. Okay. I thought they'd be just a little too wet and they'd stick to my fingers. Try to get them to fall to the center, be easy to grab. And the reason I'm planting so many in one pot is just to increase my success rate. Because I think I mentioned in the one of the earlier segments, I planted 10 of these, ended up with only 2 surviving. So I'm just giving myself more per pot to get a better success rate. All right, I kind of crammed this one because I want to get some started for the salvia. The funny thing about this entire process is I cold stratified all the salvia and lavender seeds. I later watched a video from the young ladies from Texas. My goodness, her name's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, in her video, she made a reference to cold stratifying versus winter sowing in jugs. Basically, I gleaned from what she was saying is you either cold stratify, which means putting your seeds in a freezer and tricking them into believing they're going through a winter solstice, or winter sowing them in jugs, basically amount to the same thing. So I'm ending up doing both. I put the seeds in the freezer and now I'm going to winter sow the seeds in the tote. I didn't realize until the moment I watched her video that it's kind of either or. It's not going to hurt anything, but I come to realize you either winter sow them or you cold stratify them in a freezer. We have 4 of these guys left for our purple salvia. So what I'm going to end up doing is, sowing just 4 containers of purple salvia in these remaining pots. And then the balance of these seeds, I'm going to end up using milk jugs, and we'll go into milk jugs in a few moments. Let's see if I can pick these up. I'm not having much luck picking these up. I gotta put the purple salvia over here to my right, otherwise I'll get them all mixed up. Because I have tags for them. Shout out to Southern Daisy. She actually put out a video a while ago stating to buy blinds, just the cheapest blinds you can buy, cut them down and use the blinds for tags. They'll last forever. So ran out to Walmart and got the cheapest blinds I could find so that I can make tags. I ended up with 10 lavender and 4 purple salvia. And then we're gonna move on to the milk jugs. I don't know if that's going to be their permanent home. I may put them up front where they get more sunlight during the winter time. But for now, phase 1 of this project's over. Now we're going to move on to the milk jugs. So in my previous segment, amongst other things, I didn't realize I chopped my head off. But I demonstrated to you guys how I prep a tote for winter sowing. So in this segment, I'm going to demonstrate how I prep a milk jug. Now there's plenty of videos already out there about winter sowing. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to pot up the one. So what I'll do later is I'll just go ahead and stitch in a video of all the milk jugs that I have prepped in their final place. So what you always want to do is you always want to have drainage holes in your milk jug. Okay, so that allows water to flow freely and not cause too much moisture in your plants to root rot. This device here is a probe. So it's designed to open caulking tubes, paste, different sealants that, I'd use in the garage for, working on the car or something like that. I see some folks that use a soldering iron and there's some other product. I forget, it's a fire starter, wood starter. I've seen people discuss it, but I already had this in my arsenal. It works for me and it's pretty quick. So I go ahead and poke holes. You can see here, this is broken up in quarters. Then a few along the sides. And this also allows for rainwater, snow. We don't get a lot of snow here in South Carolina, but allows for rainwater, snow to enter the jug. And the purpose of winter sowing in milk jugs, winter sowing in general, is just to give your plants this greenhouse effect by putting them in these containers, and it gets them used to the environment. And the phrase is called hardening off, making them kind of tougher, so that this provides a foundation for them to grow even stronger. So what I'm going to do next is slice the jug about right here. I don't want to cut anywhere near the handle because I want to use this section as a hinge to open and close and have access to the jug. It doesn't have to be cute or anything. Just try to get it as close to a line as possible. Okay. See, that operates like a hinge. So now what I'm going to do is mix up my planting medium. I'm going to do something different this season. What I noticed last year, and I think the year before, is some of the more tender plants had a tough time rooting themselves in potting mix. So what I'm going to do this season is I'm going to add some peat moss into my mix. So that way it's a little bit more fluffy, a little bit more aerated, and provide the seedlings with a good foundation. I like to see more root structure. I decided to make this a little easier on myself and stop confining myself to that little corner there. And I like to give them just a little pinch of fertilizer. You don't have to do that. That's just something that I like to do. So, hope this is in the shot. That's about the consistency I want. You can see little bits of peat moss mixed in there. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put water in this container and let it set for about a half hour to an hour and let that determine how much settling I have and whether I need to add more planting material. Also, if you're working with peat moss, know that it can be a little dusty. Alrighty, I'm losing my sunlight and my heat. So I got to decide real quick which seeds I want to plant first. Sunflower. I had a lot of orange out last season, a lot of orange and yellows, not intentionally. It was just something I ended up with. So let me see real quick. Okay, just to make matters simple, I'm gonna go with purple coneflower. So what I do with my milk jugs is I visualize 4 quarters. So this back row would be a quarter, this side row would be the quarter, the front and that side would be a quarter. But I'm just gonna drop them in here. That one's a little close to the edge. I don't like that. And it's very important to read the instructions on how deep to plant your seeds. These instructions says after danger of frost, sow in open ground, well exposed, covered with 1/4 of an inch of soil. So just going to use my fingertip and that should be fine. So what I put 2, I'll put a third one there. Okay, and then that'll be 1/4. This soil with the water is cold. I'm going to sprinkle them in. As this expands and contracts, it's going to settle a little bit, so I'll manage that as it progresses. I use a construction marker. I know they're labeled different things. This is basically a permanent marker. They call them construction markers, and they're also marketed as painter's pens, and I believe garden pens. All right. Purple coneflower and the date. And then we're gonna go with, sometimes I find it easier just to go ahead and put some tape on to start it. See that? And then that'll hold it closed. and then we'll tape the edges. We'll get our marker out again. So we're going to place these in a spot that gets a good amount of sun. I have to actually gauge that because in the southeast, we can have some really, really mild winter days, and I kind of don't want these to get too warm and get fried. So I have to monitor where I put them. I want to keep them out in the sun, but I have to balance that so they don't get too much sun before their transplant date. I'm going to do plenty more of these, and actually I'm going to succession sow them, meaning I'm going to plant a set today, then a month from today, and that way, as the plants that I'm planting today peter out, I'll have succession plants growing in their place. You know, once they peter out midsummer or beyond that, there'll be other plants growing right behind them because they would have been started later. So did you guys notice I teased the car in the beginning? I have a little secret for you. I started another channel. Now there's not a lot of material on that channel right now, but my hopes is to drive some traffic that way. So if you guys are interested in tricking out cars, car electronics, auto detailing, or you're just plain nosy, come on over and take a look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is South Carolina Transplant, also known as Martin, coming to you live from Zone 8A, the Piedmont of South Carolina. Until the next one, friends.